Good morning, everyone. Monday morning, and the report that I issue every morning is running a little late today because we just got our power back. We had a pretty big storm in Springfield and the surrounding area yesterday, knocked out our power. I think well over 30,000 people lost power, and the good news is that City Utilities is working feverishly to get these back on, and it seems to be going pretty fast. This is the second time now this year that we've had a widespread power issue in the city of Springfield due to severe thunderstorms. So here are the severe reports for the last 24 hours, and it was a problem all the way from Wyoming to Springfield, and no tornado reports yesterday. And that's actually quite a switch. We've had quite a few in the month of June. This is the last day of June, by the way. And if it's purple here, it's a hail report 1 inch or greater. And these are the wind reports here. You can see some of the gusts, but I'll zoom in on some of those. First of all, let's take a look at the ones that initiated the day. So we see it has to be 59 miles per hour or greater to make this chart, but we had a lot of 60 mile per hour wind gusts through parts of Wyoming, Nebraska, Kansas. There's a 72 mile per hour wind gust. I'm not sure what city that is along I-70 there. But if you come back down to Springfield, 75 mile per hour wind gusts here. That looks like to be right around the intersection of James River Expressway and and Highway and 44. Then a 79 mile per hour wind gust down here in Nixa. So quite a bit of wind damage. I live right here in the southeast corner of Springfield, and I don't have an official anemometer. I know I'm a meteorologist. I don't have one, but I had one when I was a kid, and I don't have one now. But I would estimate, just by what I've seen and how the trees were acting, we had at least 3 episodes where the winds gusted over 70 miles per hour here. So quite a day when we finally got our power back. And I'm going to go ahead and show you the loop this morning. And on the satellite, a lot quieter, disorganized, and you'll see the severe weather outlook for today is all over the place, and nothing particularly concerning. Although, as you learned, all it took was one thunderstorm placed in the wrong place yesterday for Springfield to get a lot of wind damage, and that does happen routinely. It just doesn't happen in areas where it's noticed a lot. When it happens in a metropolitan area, it gets a lot of attention. So that's the first thing I want to say. Second thing, and this is the last day of June. So from this point forward, this report that it says issued daily, it'll be issued, and the criteria I'll use is there has to be at least a slight risk or a 2 out of 5 risk somewhere in the next 3 days, or if the Storm Prediction Center pulls the trigger on something in the 4, 5, 6, 7 day category. So in other words, this report goes out a week. So, and it just kind of falls in line with the idea that it's going to get quieter, generally speaking, as we go into July. So a daily report's probably not necessary. So case in point here, here's the severe weather outlook for today, just all over the place. Level 1, which is a marginal risk, the lowest risk possible. Not to discount the possibility you could get, again, some wind gusts in here and some hail. But the overall intensity of it is greatly diminished. The jet stream's calming down. So that's one real important factor for organized thunderstorms, is to have a pretty good jet stream. The tornado cast for today does include a little bit of an area there south of Cleveland and up in Quebec, but that's about it. And all the rest of these shades are very, very small, if non-existent. So like yesterday, I don't think tornadoes are going to show up very often, maybe one somewhere in those areas I just indicated. We'll take a look at Colorado State University's thunderstorm probability for today. It does put a little bit of a tornado bullseye up here in Pennsylvania. Otherwise, just a smattering of hail threats, and the wind threats seem to be focused on that activity out there in Pennsylvania and parts of northern Virginia. And if you'll recall, there is that marginal risk out there. So, and the outlook I used, because I was doing this so late today, was actually the late morning update. So they hadn't pulled the trigger on anything greater out there yet. So the CSU model might be onto something there, or maybe not. Now, for Tuesday, that same area is under the gun for a 2 out of 5 risk for severe weather from New York City right down to the central part of Virginia, and again, a smattering of level 1s out in the western U.S. If we take a look at Tuesday's forecast, for the area, for the country based on CSU's model, it's definitely an eastern seaboard type of outbreak, but they do kind of emphasize a little bit more on the backside of this stable high, getting some activity there in South Dakota. Tornado risk only up in New England, and that's it, and it's a pretty low probability, but that's where thunderstorms will be most organized, and that's where the jet stream is at its strongest. Then nothing from SPC beyond this, believe it or not. So day 3, which is Wednesday, SPC is quiet. Nothing, which is unusual, and again, kind of feeds the idea that as we get deeper into summer in July, the number of full days of full-blown, large-scale threats for severe weather start to diminish. What'll start happening in July, you'll get a lot of air mass thunderstorms that'll collapse on themselves, which are really, really localized. You don't get strong fronts typically. You don't get a strong enough jet stream typically. And also hurricanes and tropical storms start affecting severe weather outlooks, starting around, late July, August, especially in September. Anyway, kind of a sidetrack. But Wednesday, pretty quiet. Northern Plains, no tornado risk on Wednesday. On Thursday, again, nothing from the SPC. Looks like if there's anything that might be going on, it might be in Maine or the Northern Plains on Thursday. On Friday, the 4th of July, at least from a severe weather perspective, the Arrowhead region of Minnesota, northern Wisconsin, maybe a little bit of a probability there. And when we get out to this point, when it's a two-panel like this, it's the percentage is any type of severe weather, not just one of the three, the tornado, the hail, or the high winds. So just so you know that. And then Saturday, the 3-day holiday weekend, this just kind of sinks into the Central Plains and the Great Lakes states. That's something to be watched, though. And we could get more activity out of that, unfortunately, for firework viewers. And then on Sunday, this kind of splits into, again, indicative of more stable air here, with the jet stream fueling storms out east, and then a return around the backside of that high. If we take a look at Northern Illinois University's supercell composite outlook for this next 7 days, beginning today, they want to emphasize Kansas and the Northern Plains for supercells. And then July 7th, after the holiday, into the middle of July, it's starting to reduce. I'm sure you'll notice less yellow and red showing up in the forecast, but where it does occur, it's up north, Nebraska, Wyoming, Montana, and then front range activity July 14th through the 20th, and then it shifts up into Canada, which we don't talk a lot about severe storms in Canada, probably should, but they do get quite a few in the summer months. That's where the jet stream is still at its strongest. The entire pattern simply shifts north as we get into the hotter season. Thanks for watching today's edition of Severe Thunderstorm Outlooks. This is published every day after the morning Storm Prediction Center update. Also, remember to check that site off on day one because they update it fairly frequently. If you like this video, please like it. Also, you can subscribe to the channel for more content just like this.